Nobody expected the ball to scream like that. Not from a college lefty. Not from a kid who once doubted if he even belonged on the mound. But on that cold afternoon, when scouts squinted through the wind, one man whispered something that would change everything. "They've got a lefty at Ritsu-Macon, and he's throwing something unbelievable." The words didn't spread like wildfire. They crept quietly, almost like a rumor too unrealistic to trust. But the scouts who heard it, those who lived their lives chasing whispers, felt a shiver crawl through them. Because sometimes, greatness arrives softly. Sometimes, it hides behind a single pitch. And that pitch belonged to Arima. At first glance, he didn't look like a phenom. No sculpted frame, no theatrics, no spotlight trailing him. Just a calm young man adjusting the brim of his cap, unaware that dozens of eyes were preparing to judge his entire future in seconds. The catcher gave the sign. Arima nodded, and the fastball he released was unlike anything the scouts had expected. It didn't explode out of the hand. It warped. It bent reality for a moment, riding high, refusing to fall, carrying a late, violent life that made the mitt pop like a gunshot. A scout's jaw actually dropped. Another laughed, stunned. One whispered, "What the hell was that?" And in the back row stood the man they called Mr. Corporate Baseball, a legend in Japan's industrial leagues. A man whose eyes had shaped dozens of pro careers. He didn't cheer. He didn't gasp. He just watched with a faint, knowing smile, like he was staring at a puzzle he'd already solved. Arima threw again. Another unreal fastball. Another moment of disbelief. But then he unleashed a breaking ball so cruel, so sudden, that the batter flinched before realizing it had already carved through the strike zone. The scouts exchanged glances. Not the usual, interesting kid, look. This was panic mixed with excitement, the look of men who realized they might have just discovered the next big left-handed monster. But Arima wasn't always this pitcher. Not even close. There was a time his mechanics were inconsistent. A time he fought his own body, chasing velocity but losing control. A time he wondered whether the game was drifting away from him. And that was when Mr. Corporate Baseball stepped in. He didn't bark instructions. He didn't force Arima to become something he wasn't. He simply said words that pierced deeper than any coaching drill ever could. Stop trying to throw harder. Start trying to throw yourself. Arima didn't understand it at first. What did that even mean? Throw himself. But slowly, frame by frame, pitch by pitch, he began to unlock the answer. He shifted his balance. He freed his arm. He let his natural movement speak instead of fighting it. And the ball started to hum with a new kind of energy. Not forced. Not manufactured. But organic, violent, beautiful. That was the day the lefty was reborn. Now here he was, standing on a college mound, making seasoned scouts feel like rookies again. Making them question the radar gun. Making them rethink everything they thought they knew about pitching potential. The inning continued, but the outcome didn't matter. Strikeout. Groundout. Another strikeout that ended with the batter shaking his head in disbelief. None of that was the headline. The real story was the feeling. That rare electricity in the air, the kind that only appears when a future star first announces himself to the world. And as Arima walked off the field, he didn't pump his fist. He didn't roar to the sky. He simply lowered his head, humble, composed, almost unaware of the storm he had just created. But the scouts knew. They had seen something real. Something raw. Something that wasn't supposed to be possible. The quiet scout nearest the dugout finally spoke, voice trembling with awe. "His breakout isn't coming," he said. "It's already here. And somewhere beyond the field, beyond the noise, beyond the conversations buzzing around his name, Mr. Corporate Baseball stood alone, hands in his pockets, eyes soft with pride. He had seen the transformation long before anyone else. He had seen the courage it took for a young lefty to reinvent himself. He had seen the spark. Now the whole baseball world would see it too. Because every once in a while, a pitcher arrives not just with talent, but with a story powerful enough to shake the game itself. Arima's story had just begun. And the echoes of that unbelievable pitch, the one that made scouts whisper in disbelief, will be remembered long after the radar guns stop. Because sometimes, one pitch isn't just a pitch. Sometimes, it's destiny announcing itself. And on that day, destiny came flying out of a left-hander's hand. Rising, roaring, refusing to be ignored. A future rewritten. A fire awakened. A legend quietly born. And the world is only just starting to notice.